Everyone, we're gonna get started in just a second. Just like waiting for others to come and hang out. All right, I'm gonna get started with our introduction stuff. Welcome to our REDCap Lunch, Learn, and Collaborate. This is our talk for May 2026. Just to get started, we'll talk about our REDCap's stats and projects. We still have roughly 45 projects that have requested migration extensions to be moved over, but essentially half of them have migrated already. We currently have 228 active users still left on REDCap. Our 206 are from FSU, and then we have 22 external institution users. So something that you want to keep in mind if you have projects in REDCap, we've seen often enough that the migration extension projects are ones that are doing active data collection. If you want access to any of your projects after August 2026, you will need to migrate those over to ITS as well, even if they're no longer in active data collection. For our ITS REDCap statistics, we have 427 active projects with 173 production projects and 242 development projects. We have 12 Mozio projects currently, and we have roughly 737 active users on ITS REDCap. So something that we offer at FSU our REDCap training within our documentation page, we have video tutorials and help text from Vanderbilt. These are also built into REDCap, and there's a help and FAQ tab in the REDCap instance itself. We also host lunch, learn, and collaborate sessions like this one every last Wednesday of every month. Our June LLC is Creative Uses in REDCap. If you'd like to register for that, you can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. And we also house archives of our previous sessions as YouTube videos on this link here. And I think Alex will be posting links at the end of the LLC if you're interested in clicking on any of those links. As part of our new users, or if anyone wants a refresh on any of the skills needed for REDCap usage, we have a self-guided training Canvas course where you can enroll, and it's based on the particular role that you play in your REDCap team. So feel free to go there and see if any of the modules apply to building your skills for REDCap. We at the Research Computing Center provide support for the maintenance and administration of REDCap. Our request portal is at this link here. This is also what's provided at the top of the homepage for REDCap. If you have any technical issues or you'd like to add new users to REDCap to have access, we also take care of project change requests and then communicating if there's downtime or any upgrades. If you want to put in a request for anything consultation, any project support, you can also scan this QR code as well. I believe this is the last thing before we jump into our presentation. We want to remind everyone that we would love to have our FSU REDCap researchers be a guest speaker. You can talk about any of the fun, cool ways that you've revamped and modified REDCap to fit your project needs. If you're interested, please complete the survey at the bottom or email us at redcap@fsg.edu, and we can talk about how we can get you to present and share your great ideas. LLC stands for Lunch, Learn, and Collaborate, and we want this to be a collaborative space. So something that we want to make sure that everyone is aware of, when you're in development mode, please be using test data only, not real data. There's a lot of security factors that go in when you move your project to production that protects the real data. So this is something that we ask oftentimes when we're moving to production, if we do see data in development mode, to make sure that it is test data and not real data. So that way we can make sure that you don't experience any data loss within your project. Make sure too that if you're done collecting data, that you move the project to analysis and cleanup mode. So that way you can also protect from any data loss, any key smashing or modification of data after data has been collected. And then finally, to clear up some space on your My Projects section of REDCap, you can move things to completed mode, so that you know that there's no longer any analysis of data happening, but you can move it back to analysis and cleanup mode if necessary. Housekeeping notes, please remain muted during the presentation. There will be some portion of Q&A throughout the presentation. And if you have any questions, we'll take those and answer them during those pauses for Q&A. We also have a Q&A section at the end of the presentation. So our presentation today is by Semi Reda, and she will be presenting uses in REDCap. Take it away, Semi.
All right, I hope you guys can hear me. All right, so I will be presenting uses in REDCap. Can you see the slide? All right, so the objectives I'll be going over will be project design, data collection, compliance, and data analytics. We're going to touch a little bit on templates, on the REDCap instrument library, the request portal, which many of you guys have probably used, as well as the e-consent framework. So we'll start with project design. So when you create a new project, this is what the page looks like. You can set up your title. You can also set up your project's purpose. One of the purposes, keep in mind, is just practice or just for fun projects. If you ever want to test out any REDCap features, play around with it, learn how things work, you always have an option to do that. You can make as many practice projects as you desire. That is, you do not need any permission to do that. Another option you have is you can create an empty project, start from scratch. You can upload an XML file from a previous REDCap project. If you've had to migrate something from REDCap, you've probably used that feature. But you can also use templates. And you see below they have a list of templates along with descriptions of what each template looks like that you can go through. And again, if you want to play around with any of these templates, you can make a practice project and do that. So templates are really useful because instead of starting from scratch, they come pre-built with a lot of common project features. Some examples of those are demographic surveys, which a lot of studies use. Templates already have those put in. Are already set up for longitudinal data. They have different events and arms set up. And they can also set up repeating instruments. That's a very common feature in a lot of projects, and it's preset into a lot of templates. Using these templates can save you time, and it can be really helpful for beginners who don't really have a lot of experience and don't necessarily know how to do these on their own. And they can also be edited to meet specific project needs. If you have a longitudinal data template, for example, you can add or take away different events. Right, so here's an example of a template that you can use. REDCap actually has two longitudinal database templates with 8 events each. There's one template that has one arm and another template that has two arms. These include a demographics form, several assessment forms, and patient questionnaires. And instruments can, of course, be added, deleted, or edited in this project. And below, you can see what the record status dashboard looks like. You can see all the different questionnaires divided into different events for dose one, dose two, visit two, and so on. You can also see that they're repeating some of these instruments across so many different events. So even though there's only a few instruments, they're being used more than once. Another example of the template that's commonly used is the randomized clinical trials template. This is also a longitudinal study with 7 different events. It includes a demographics form, a randomization form, as well as monthly assessments because it's longitudinal. It also has the randomization module already enabled. It is preset to randomize participants into 3 groups for drug A, drug B, and drug C after they fill out the demographics form. It also stratifies these by race and gender. Now, of course, any of these features can be edited if you want to randomize based on different features. And the randomization module does not include the allocation table, but it also has templates for the allocation table to make it a lot easier. Randomization module is kind of an advanced feature in REDCap, so a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with it. They don't necessarily know how to use it. So using this template can be really helpful because it has a lot of the heavy work already done for you. All right, I also want to talk about the REDCap instrument library. So, of course, you can make your own data forms, you can make your own surveys in REDCap, but they also have a library of over 4,000 instruments that can be imported and used in your projects. Many of these instruments are available in multiple languages, and here are some common examples. Demographic surveys, as I've talked about, there's many different types of demographic surveys in the instrument library. There is the BRFSS survey, which is like a CDC survey that looks at a lot of different risk factors. It's also broken down into modules, which is really helpful because you can import just one module. If you just want to import the section about sleep, for example, you can import that, or you can import all of them as separate instruments, depending on your project needs. The ACE questionnaire, which is about childhood trauma, the TIPI, which focuses on Big Five. PEG3, I believe, is a pain assessment, and there's a couple of mental health surveys as well, very common big name ones that are available in multiple languages, and of course, thousands more that are used by major institutions that you can look through. Right, before I move on to data collection, are there any questions about project design? All right, I'll move forward then. So data collection. REDCap is, of course, used for clinical data collection. That's probably its primary use. It offers HIPAA-protected data storage. It can also store data that is initially collected on paper. So, of course, you can use it to collect data to begin with, but you can also store data with it if it's originally on paper, or you can collect it via the app. REDCap has a mobile app called MyCap that you can activate within the app and use that. This allows collaboration with outside users and institutions because it is HIPAA protected. It also allows longitudinal data collection and repeating instruments to track changes over time. We talked about that a little bit with the templates. And it also provides data validation tools to ensure data quality. So if you want to keep numbers within a certain range or something like that, or if you're asking for email addresses and you want to make sure they're actually typing in an email address instead of just a keyboard smash, that's where data validation tools would come in. Another example is if you're asking for birthday and age, you can make sure those numbers kind of line up with each other so people aren't just putting random numbers. That's really useful for preventing bots. Okay, additionally, REDCap also offers surveys. You can create survey links and QR codes. They can be publicly available. If you want to open it up to everyone, you can make them password protected or you can make them invitation only. These invitations can be sent via scheduled email alerts and notifications. That's really useful if you want to send regular alerts, like if you want people to take a survey every month, you can send them an alert every month automatically via REDCap. You can also send alerts and notifications to researchers if you guys want to receive an alert every time someone fills out a survey. That's another use for that feature. REDCap also has Mozio integration. Mozio is a third-party app that sends text alerts. So if you want to send survey links through text messages, that's a common feature that people want to use. And another reminder that surveys can be used for both research and non-research purposes. I have some examples of non-research purposes. Satisfaction surveys, for example, you can allow people to register for different events or volunteering programs through REDCap. You can schedule appointments via REDCap or do incident reporting via REDCap using surveys. So one example of a non-research purpose would be the REDCap request portal that I talked about briefly earlier. This is actually formatted as a longitudinal study. It has several different surveys and data forms. The request form itself is a survey. If you've ever filled it out, it's just a REDCap survey. Requesters can choose the type of assistance. It offers REDCap assistance as well as a variety of other services. There's biostatistics assistance, for example. And whatever type of assistance you choose, it sends an alert to the faculty. So if you choose REDCap, everyone on the REDCap admin team gets an alert. Once that alert is triggered, there's a response form that opens up that we can fill out with our response, and then that will trigger an alert to the requester. So, for example, if I was to respond to a request, I would fill that out in REDCap, and it would automatically send you an email that includes my response. This is also a repeating instrument, so you can fill out multiple responses and send multiple alerts to the same requester. If you want to close out the ticket, there's an additional data form that just asks, is this ticket ready to be closed? And that's really useful because it allows us to generate reports with all open tickets. We do that regularly just in case we miss an alert and a ticket falls through the cracks. Being able to generate reports and looking at any tickets that are still open can allow us to respond to those without leaving you behind. And of course, closing out a ticket also sends out an alert with a satisfaction survey to requesters. If you've ever had a ticket closed out, you probably received that link, which is optional, but we appreciate it. Okay. Before I get into compliance, are there any questions? All right, I'll continue. So REDCap is obviously a great tool because of its data privacy protections. It's widely used by universities and hospitals all over the world to store and manage large data sets. It supports HIPAA and FERPA protected research. Our data is actually stored on ITS servers here in Florida State, and it also offers the logging of email and data changes to monitor projects. There's an audit trail that you can look at. This is really useful if you have multiple collaborators on a project, so you can see exactly what happened when. REDCap also has an e-consent framework. This is a built-in framework that allows participants to read and sign informed consent documents within REDCap. They have a signature option, so instead of just typing your name, you can actually physically sign it via a computer. When someone does this, it will generate and store a PDF in the file repository. Mhm. This meets IRB requirements, at least here at FSU, and the e-consent framework also supports branching logic. So, for example, if you want to ask someone, are you over the age of 18? And they hit yes, that can branch them into a different option. Some studies will not allow participants under the age of 18. Some studies will allow them, but you have to sign an additional consent form. So that's an example of how branching logic can be used for e-consent. One more privacy feature I want to talk about is the user rights and tags. So REDCap is a collaborative platform. You work with a lot of different users, oftentimes at different institutions. And you can edit user rights to allow or prevent certain users from accessing certain parts of the projects. These can be granted on an instrument by instrument basis. Users can be granted the right to view data but not edit it. They can also be granted the right to edit data but not export that data. And export rights can be limited per user or per instrument. Additionally, export rights can be limited to de-identified data if you want someone to be able to look at de-identified data, but not necessarily have that PHI. That's another option. So DAGs are similar to user rights, but they are often used for multi-site studies. It basically allows you to put people in different groups. And in each group, they will only be allowed to view and edit data from their own site. So if you're working with other universities at like UF, for example, you can set it up so FSU researchers can only view and edit FSU data, and UF researchers can only view and edit UF data, and the PI can look at everything. All right, any questions? Okay, I'll move on to the final section, which is data analytics. So REDCap offers a variety of data visualization tools actually in the program. Hmm. You can create data reports that include statistics. It includes charts, a lot of simple charts like bar graphs, scatter plots, things like that. You can include or exclude specific variables, records, events, depending on the type of data you want to create. And you can also only include de-identified data. That's an option too. You can also create project dashboards to display aggregated data. These would contain descriptive statistics and, again, simple charts similar to the data reports, but it would be a dashboard format. Both of these, both the data reports and project dashboards, can generate public links to be sent for those without a REDCap account. If you want to share this data with somebody and they don't have a REDCap account, they don't want to participate in the project, you can generate a public link so they can look at the aggregated data without actually being able to interact with it in any way. You can also connect to Tableau via API for an interactive dashboard. That's another option. All right, if you want more data visualization tools, or if you want to be able to actually analyze data for a research project, REDCap actually integrates well with a lot of statistical analysis tools. One option is you can export the data in several different formats. You can export it as a CSV file. You can export it directly as an SPSS, SAS, R, Stata, or XML file. And that way you can import the data directly into the project. No data loss, no conversions, nothing like that. And it makes it really, really easy to be able to analyze large data sets. One slightly more advanced feature you can use is you can automatically transfer data into certain programs using REDCap API. And this way you don't have to go through the export process. You don't have to do it multiple times. It'll automatically do it as you're adding in data so you can analyze and visualize the data while it's coming in. You also don't have to be worried about storing data sets as you export and import them over and over again. So this is primarily done with R via the REDCap R package and Python via PyCap. So you'd download REDCap R, for example, within R, and then you'd be able to automatically transfer the data with that. So that's another way to visualize data within REDCap. All right. So in conclusion, REDCap has a variety of research and non-research purposes. We've talked about a few of them in this presentation. You can collect data, including PHI, through surveys or data forms. Project templates in the instrument library can facilitate research projects. Those are really, really good for beginners. And data visualization can be done within REDCap or with an integrated statistical program. Again, the integration with statistical programs is a little bit more advanced, but it is an available feature. Okay, so that's what I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much. This was great. I do have a quick question, not necessarily related to the clinical study design or anything like that, but I know in the past we've had participants complete surveys on their end prior to the survey actually being completed, and we're not able to go back in and open it up. I was wondering if there was any new developments on that, if that's something that REDCap has looked into being able to edit those so that we can resend them out to participants to survey to complete without having to recomplete a whole survey again.
Yeah, I know that this in the survey settings, there is an option to allow participants to save a survey and come back later. So if they don't want to complete it in one sitting, they can fill out part of it, save it, and then come back later. I think if they've already submitted it, I don't know if you can resend the survey. I mean, you can send surveys multiple times, but it might store it as a different response.
Yeah, so I know we're able to go in and edit, if it's not a participant survey, we can go in and, edit it, and reopen things. But when a participant has already completed a full survey and perhaps they missed a whole section by mistake and they actually clicked submit thinking they could go back and reopen it, it's actually closed out for them and is closed out for us. I was wondering if there was any updates to that, if REDCap had edited so that we can actually reopen completed submitted surveys from participants.
I think there might be a change that you can make within the user rights as well to edit survey responses. I know that's not ideal, but at least from the like internal space, you can make modifications, but I don't know if those are enabled for your particular project. We can look at it offline if that's helpful.
You can
Sure.
also prevent them from submitting a survey before they've answered every question.
It's true too. Unless it's optional. I think that would be the only thing.
Thank you. Yeah, we can discuss it more. I appreciate it.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, with that, I will stop sharing and hand it back to Marcelina.
Thank you. Situated. Thank you, Semi, for your presentation. Sorry, I'm getting all turned around. Um, Thank you, Semi. So like Semi said, any questions on the presentation or any questions about REDCap in general. Thank you, Hannah, for starting that off. Like I said before, we do want this to be a collaborative space, so any issues that you may be having in REDCap, it's possible that other people are also having that issue, or they will know what to do with it if we can find a solution here and talk about it. It's a little bit, I think that's also something that comes from guest speakers as well, is if we come up with a solution within a meeting or conversation that we have, that's something that we're more than happy to see presented. If, again, if it maybe applies to other REDCap projects. If there are no questions, these are the links that have been mentioned already. Most of these are surveys that you can fill out, or if you are interested in any of our previous presentations, they're all, I believe, within the last year have been recorded on YouTube, and you can access them here at this link. We'll be sending the slides out, I believe, by the end of the week, as well as recordings in case you missed anything. So thank you everyone for attending. Our next meeting is going to be June 24th, end of June on Wednesday at 12:30. If you're interested in being a guest speaker, we still have it open. And our topic is creative uses of REDCap. So it's a perfect time to show off any creative or interesting fixes that you've had to modify REDCap for your needs. Thank you guys. Catch you on the flip side. See you in June.